Salutations, shades, and welcome back to your one-stop shop for all things strange and unusual, Talking with Shadows, the conversation everyone has, but no one wants to admit to. Here with your host, Vic Whately.
And Marcus D. And joining us in the studio today, our guest today is Tom Kirkbride from the YouTube channel Sleepless Readings. Welcome to the studio, Tom.
Hey, pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Tom has an awesome YouTube channel where he reads horror stories from the No Sleep Reddit, and agreed to come on today in order to talk with us about our topic for today, blood rains.
But you absolutely have to check out his channel. He's a great reader, and his vocal range is really good. Like, I was very impressed. Like, I would totally believe it if you told me you were a professional voice actor.
Damn, it's high praise. Thank you.
Yeah, when you joined in on the Skype call for today, I honestly thought that my computer was haunted. I'm like, it was freaking like, it was really hard. Like, your voice is very, very good for what you do. Like, I'm also slightly mad at you because I binge watched a lot of your episodes last night, listening to you read these horror stories, and I had nightmares all night long.
You compromised his delicate constitution.
You did. So I'm like, Tom, I'm like listening to you like read these horror stories, and then I go to sleep, and I have this horror story where I've been committed to a psychiatric hospital, but it's not really a psychiatric hospital. It's like a Home Depot hardware store. I know, it's weird. And I'm like wandering around in this Home Depot store, like trying to figure out how I'm going to escape. And realizing that I sneak past all of the workers, and then I get to the parking lot looking for my car, and then I go, oh no, I forgot my car inside the home entertainment section of this hardware store.
Oh yeah, because you apparently pulled up people. You're like, oh yeah, I'll just park my car inside the store.
Yeah.
Don't forget where we're parked.
So yeah, I gotta thank you for that, for giving me nightmares all last night.
Such a weird.
What can I say? I'm in the nightmare business.
Absolutely. So, Tom, I wanted to ask you a little bit. Tell our listeners a little bit about your YouTube channel and exactly what it is that you do.
Well, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. I read short horror stories every week. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I do 2-sentence horror stories, just little bite-sized snippets of terror, if you will. And on Sundays, I do like a story that's anywhere between, 5 and 20 minutes, which is it's interesting. Some of the voices give me a bit of pain, but I do all the voices myself. Sometimes with a bit of tweaking here and there, but I don't know, it's fun stuff. If you like horror, come on down. It's youtube.com/sleeplessreadings.
I've always tried to get Ellie to get into something like that because she has such a really good reading voice. But I don't know. She's very non-committal on that sort of thing. She has done a few like scary true stories for our thing too. When I was listening to some of your stuff, I only got a chance to listen to about 5 episodes. Do you do like paranormal related stuff too? Like, because I think all the ones that I listened to just happen to have been ones where like it definitely it was horror, but it was more like natural horror.
Oh yeah, there's definitely some paranormal stuff in there. It's all fiction, but it's all kinds of fiction. You got ghosts, monsters, demons, haunted places, pretty much anything you can think of, really.
That's just my luck that the 5 that I randomly listened to were all like serial killer stuff.
My favorite one was Paris, Texas. I thought that was one of my favorite ones that I got to listen to.
Texas.
Yes. Oh my god, man. I love, like, for me, like anything in the paranormal that involves like whole towns. I don't know why, but like something with that sort of a theme to it, I always like really like those a lot.
Gonna say the 90-year-old Texas woman voice was a tough one. It took me a while to get that right.
Yeah,
I think that was like take 3, and my throat was killing me afterwards. But what can you do? You
We've
suffer
actually
for your
been,
art.
I'm sorry. Sorry, man. We've actually been investigating a old ghost town here in Indiana on and off for the last few months. COVID's made the
Nice.
investigation go very slow, though.
Me being able to get out,
I guess all the ghosts are social distancing, yeah.
That's
Yep.
true. That's true. That's true. And something else too that I really wanted, that I really liked about your work, because I've listened to other people do horror stories before. Like I've listened to other channels that do it, but something that you had on
It is
yours
quite
that
a
was,
wide sort of market, though.
yeah.
Like,
But
there's a lot to
something
offer.
you did that you added like sound effects in your stories.
Oh yeah, I feel it adds to the atmosphere a little. Just little
Absolutely.
sounds in the background.
You know, and I edit all of our content on the channel, so I know how much of a pain in the butt it can be to add some of the sound effects to just the right moment to make
To be honest, I don't mind the sound effects. It's more the listening to my own voice for too long. I can only do it for so long before I have to just quit and have a beer.
I'm still hung up on that. Is just your natural voice. That is an amazing voice for doing what you do.
Yeah, thank you. I figure my nursery rhyme career was not going nowhere, so I switched gears. I don't know, the kids just kept crying and they wouldn't go to sleep. And
that was good. I don't know, man. I don't know. I would pay money to listen to you just tell nursery rhymes, but from like a horror story perspective. I'm telling you, there's a market for that. I think that people would buy it.
Ellie would go.
Yeah, we'd listen to it. I think that's awesome.
maybe that'll be my next Halloween special, just nursery rhymes. I mean, they're royalty free anyway, so happy days.
Oh, and something else too that I found that was weird. So I was looking on the No Sleep Reddit where most of your stories come from, right?
Mm.
And so I'm reading like the rules and stuff in order to post a horror story.
Yeah, they are quite strict over there.
Yes, they are. There's a lot, and there was one that caught me off guard that said that you're allowed to have paranormal entities in your stories, but they can't be good guys. Like that is an actual rule on the No Sleep subreddit, is that you cannot have like Casper the Friendly Ghost in your stories. Like I'll have to just be straight terrible people.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't write the rules over there.
So one question.
I don't write any of the stuff on my channel. I just read other people's stuff, but I work with them. I have their permission to do so and their blessing on the final cut and whatever.
Absolutely. So something that I wanted to ask you too, because I know a lot of people that like to create content like that and like to write a lot of stories. So on your YouTube channel, you pick stories that you want to read out. So what do you look for in a story that you want to read on your YouTube channel?
I'd say just a story that I enjoy, to be honest. I'm a big fan of horror anyway, so a story that sort of gets to me that I can picture really well. Ones that aren't too predictable are always nice. I mean, some of them are predictable to a point, but if it's something like, oh, and he was dead the whole time, ooh, it's like, all right, really? Okay, cool.
But if he was dead, then who was phone?
That was actually my April Fool's special last year. Verbatim.
I enjoy a crappy pasta every once in a while.
Absolutely. Do you ever run into problems of when you reach out to people to use their work that they don't get back to you?
Oh yeah, constantly. I normally have a few people on the go that I ask at once, so I can always got a backlog I can go to. Some people just don't respond at all. Some people respond like a month late, and it's like, well, thanks, but I've moved on now. I've got stuff to do. So. Some people charge for their work, like it's one guy's like $50 for a story. It's like, I don't have $50, man. I'm not making money from this. So we just politely parted ways. Okay, you do you. All the best. But then the next guy was like, oh yeah, I'm glad you liked it enough to narrate it. Thank you. I'm really appreciative. So swings and roundabouts, I guess. So as Britishism, it just means fucking everything one way. I don't know what it means. It's
awesome. Okay.
Yeah, normally people are psyched for me to read it, to be honest. Like they're happy someone likes the work enough to want to perform it, essentially. But the people who refuse, I don't get mad at them. It's their property at the end of the day. It's, well, intellectual property, You got to work with them. So.
Awesome.
Okay, before we get into our main stuff, I do have a bit of an update. I know I've been finding a lot of these things, but it seems like every week I find something new about animals falling from the sky, and I found one more I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Ooh.
In 1892, in the town of Paderborn, Germany, it rained mussels out of a yellow cloud. And I don't mean like biceps. I mean like, no, muscles. But once again, this brings up one of the issues that we've been having while we've been discussing a lot of these. If it's something like a tornado that's pulling out mussel or a waterspout pulling out mussels from the water, mussels are down in the sand. They did not have raining substrate with them. There's something very odd going on. It's like when we talked about it raining worms over that other town. How the heck do you expect a tornado to pull worms up without also pulling out the substrate surrounding the worms? Like with worms, it should be raining dirt, chunks of grass. With mussels, there should be a huge fall of sand as well with them. But we're not seeing that in these accounts, which is really, I really think that puts a big issue, a big asterisk next to the whole waterspout tornado theory.
And I'm telling you now, we're from Indiana, man. If there's one thing we know about, it's tornadoes. Okay, the country people that go out when there's a massive tornado, the people that drive up in the minivan that's like open with a little camera, that's us, man. That's Hoosiers. That is what we do.
Nice. I can't say we have many tornadoes in England, but I'll let you guys know.
We'll let you let us know. I'm telling. There was a few things though when we get into the blood rains thing where we talked about there are blood rains that have occurred in the UK in the past.
I don't think we actually covered this one so far, but I did find an account of, I think it was in Kent, of it raining jellyfish.
Huh.
It's not one of the ones that like I decided to really cover when we got to that part.
All right, can we drink now?
Oh heck yeah! Okay, you tell us what we got today.
Okay, so today, when we went out in order to get alcohol, Vic was an irresponsible citizen and forgot to wear a mask. So I got to go in and be the one to pick the alcohol for today.
I had to wait in the car
because you forgot a mask.
I was bad.
Yep. I picked today. We're drinking the IPA Voodoo Ranger because we're D&D nerds.
And it's apparently a juicy haze IPA. And
I see what you did there, Ranger, because we're talking about blood rain.
Yep. But no, this was entirely accident. He's not that clever.
I am not that clever. I accidentally walked into that one there. But also,
cheers, you guys.
Cheers to you, Tom. Our awesome guest. And what are you drinking over there, by the way?
It's cider. It's cheap and cheerful. It's Strongbow. It's okay.
Oh, we love drinking. Oh man, we love drinking ciders too.
It's good stuff.
I'm gonna try this juicy haze IPA.
It's good.
Oh, that's tasty. That is tasty.
Well, I don't understand. You'll like these IPAs with this really strong grapefruit taste to them, but every time I give you a sour beer that's even hints of something like, sour or bitter, you just freak out about it.
Dude, okay. That is because like sour beers taste like beer that's been ran on like a crusty old foot and picked up all of those weird salty tastes, and then it runs off through a sieve.
Okay, it does not taste like that. It just tastes like beer that's been mixed with a warhead.
It is disgusting. It is like hot garbage water drinking sour beers.
You did a good job picking this one, though.
Thank you, I did. I walked in and literally picked the first thing off the shelf that had a cool name.
that can't be your process, man. Okay, let's get into our topic today before you give me a brain aneurysm.
Sorry.
You better be.
Oh, man. Okay. So, guys, we've been building up to this topic for a while to talk about blood rains, like blood, like legitimately raining from the sky. We've known about this. Me and Vic have known about this phenomenon for years. We've talked about it before. When we did a top 5 strangest things that fell from the sky. Blood made the list. So it's only right that I think that this is kind of the one that we end on with our podcast episodes, talking about blood raining from the sky, because there have been reports of blood raining from the sky that go back thousands and thousands of years.
The earliest known case that I was able to find was from the Iliad, which there are two accounts within the Iliad where it rains blood. Both of them are sent by Zeus in the Iliad and just literally makes blood rain from the sky. One of them was as a portent warning, and I think the other one was like a symbolic shedding of blood. I can't really remember the second one all that well, but often when you attribute a lot of these early cases of blood rain, it's almost always connected with a divine force.
Well, yeah, because I mean, think about people in the ancient days seeing one of these things. Like, you know, it's not normal to see blood rain. So if all of a sudden you walked out and it starts raining blood from the sky, or what you think is blood raining from the sky, yeah, you're gonna think that God is mad at you.
Well, yeah, it's not going to be Steve
not
down the
always.
road, is it? You know, like, of course, it's going to be some kind of god at least.
but not always is that the case. It's mainly in these early cases where it's specifically like God giving like a portent of something. Because later on you find that Europeans begin to associate it with signs of witchcraft.
Well, again, it's somebody with some sort of like supernatural magic that's mad at you.
Yeah, but it's still a far okay. Witches are making it rain blood from the sky is still a different sort of thing than God is sending us a message through making it rain blood. These are very different interpretations of different ancient minds.
I know, but in the end of the day, you have to know, who do you need to appease? The witches or the gods that's mad at you?
The European medieval minds were not saying, "Oh, the witches are making it rain blood from the sky. Let's go appease the witches." No, they would grab their copy of the Malleus Maleficarum and go gather some witch hunters.
Yeah.
This is ancient science for you, Tom.
I was a little surprised that the earliest account that I was able to dredge up was actually not earlier than the Iliad. I thought that I might be able to find like some old school like Sumerian accounts or something like that, but I was surprised that that's the earliest one that I was able to really source.
I mean, there could have been like cave paintings, but they didn't tend to use much color, so you would have mistaked it for regular rain.
That's
true.
That's a good
true.
point.
It would have started as a certain color, but it might have like turned black at a certain point over time.
Yeah.
And beyond that, we know record keeping back then was not great. Cuneiform clay tablets, I guess, hold up okay, but I mean, we still don't have the full copy of the Gilgamesh. There's just full chapters we just don't have. We know something happened between these parts. We don't know what. It's like you're going through binge watching a show on Netflix and you're missing episode 3 and you just have to put together what happened in there based on what's
Just
going
scene
on in
missing.
episode 4.
Like there's this new antagonist that's shown up. Somebody must have made somebody mad.
Oh, dear.
I like the account from Rome back in it was like 191 BC, where they describe a blood rain goes down. So the Roman Senate panics, and they legit say, "Okay, we're gonna sacrifice people to the gods until this stops." Like their response was just sacrifice as many people as you can to whichever god you feel is necessary to get this to stop happening.
Well, I mean, did it work?
Well, eventually. I mean, weather's sort of on a timetable, so I think it probably did, and they just went, oh, "Okay, cool, we've killed enough people."
I mean, human sacrifice, although it's not a known in Rome, but it's not like super common either.
Yeah.
So they must have felt something was going on. Does the account remember how long the rain went for on that one? Because I've heard of accounts for it lasting up to 3 days.
No, I think it was just day. I think it was a matter of days. But now, but Tom, like, because I know that you do a lot of, because you read a lot of these like horror stories. Could you imagine the horror that these ancient people must have been feeling when they walk outside to see it raining blood from the sky?
I honestly struggle to imagine that. Like, would it be scared? I think it'd be more confusion than anything. I guess once you start to put it together, maybe you link it in with your superstitions, but I don't know. I'm not sure you'd be instantly terrified. But
I don't know. I mean, that's true. Like, what did we do wrong? Like, did we do something wrong? Do we need to like change what we're doing?
There's one account from Paris County where the men and women that were caught outside in it, like, were just so wrapped with terror, they began to strip off their clothes, basically just kind of ripping and tearing them off and running in terror. That's the most visceral reaction I found.
No, they just didn't want to stay in their clothes. That's natural. I mean,
I'm just imagining all these people just
like, this is a new shirt.
screaming and ripping off their clothes. But I think that's the most visceral reaction I've particularly found. Some of the accounts almost seem blasé, where the account's like, oh yes, on this day, blood did rain from the sky. Also,
it almost read like, and then everyone clapped. You know, it's like, sort of,
like looks like it started like a real slow clap.
There was one from England where Richard the Lionheart is working on with his men building a castle, and it apparently had begun raining blood, and he took it as a sign of, oh, this is God being approving of my determination. Keep building.
Yeah.
They didn't even break for the blood rain. They just kept building through the blood rain.
Well, I think like any leader that's gonna see blood rain come outside, they're like, okay, in some way, shape, or form, this is gonna be a major event. I gotta keep my people from panicking.
Yep, God just wants you to keep stacking those rocks, guys. Just keep on it.
I think if I was outside, like if I was like, when I would want a blood rain to happen would be like when I'm at work, so that I could just turn to my boss and be like, "Let my people go." Like that's God saying it's time to punch out right there. That's some biblical stuff going on right there.
I would want it to be right before I take a shower, so I'm not annoyed by the fact I have to take a second shower.
Oh yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts on it?
The first thing that popped out of me is like probably the impact that this has to have on certain culture, like certain places where fresh water is hard to come by, because a lot of people depend on rainwater, in order to survive, to collect rain. So like I was hearing accounts from like Sri Lanka when they had a blood rain there. I believe it was 2014, 11. 12, thank you.
Oh, so recent.
Yeah, done in 2012, and everybody think it was poisoned.
Huh.
So, like, were there reports of people breaking out in rashes and hives after the rain?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, no matter like what like theory of this that you're going to subscribe to, it's probably not good for your skin.
Probably.
Well, like we're going to break down some of the theories on this. At the end of the day, it's all just bad for you, no matter like what you get. If it's a bad omen, it's bad for you. If it's got iron, it's bad for you. It's allergies.
But if you build in the castle, you keep on building.
Yeah, you just keep building.
It's good for the masonry industry. That's what it's good for.
Well, it struck me as weird because, like, a lot of the other accounts I've read of Richard the Lionheart, he's a fairly even-killed kind of guy in many ways. Like, when he's on the third crusade, it was either the second or the third crusade. At one point, like, an emissary sent from one of the Muslim encampments, and he's like, oh, you're a cool guy. I'll make you a deal. You marry my cousin, and we call this whole thing over. We end the crusade. You accept the Crusader states, and we all go home, and we don't have to have this bloody battle. But then he throws in, oh, and you also have to convert to Christianity, and then the whole deal was a bust.
That was the deal breaker.
But altogether, he's a fairly even-killed guy. I would have expected him to go, let's just take a break till all of this, whatever this is over.
Oh, dear.
So, okay. If you're trying to break down the theories as to what actually causes blood rain, like what people did. So we've already passed it's witches and God's mad at you. So
or God's happy with you.
Or God's happy
to keep going.
Okay, the rare one of those.
That's a damn fine castle. I'm not actually doing an impression of God. I'm sorry. That's probably blasphemous.
It's like, all right. It's like, I hope he sends the next one when I build my guest house. Is the theory that it's dust from the Sahara Desert.
That would make sense.
I mean, it's the right sort of color. And like there is some, I think the earliest account I found of the dust theory actually comes from someone trying to explain it in Germany, though. He had theorized, I believe, that it was dust being swept up from animal and plant waste. And that somehow it was not a well thought out theory. It was just because this is a very early German scientist trying to come up with an answer. And his was kind of, maybe it's dust.
Like
It's like the assignment's due tomorrow. I guess it's dust.
Yeah.
The funny thing about that theory is honestly, it took them to like I think almost like the early 19th century for someone to pitch that theory. So prior to like the early 19th century, the leading theory is like witches and gods mad at you.
Yeah, or that something big's about to happen. That's one of the ones that we didn't cover. Like supposedly, I think it was at the birth of Romulus and Remus. It supposedly rained blood, and there are a few other cases where it shows up as a portent of either something really good or really bad about to happen.
And that's how long it took like a scientist to go, man, we need to start like coming up with an actual scientific theory for this because all we got now is witches, fate, and God.
Well, I guess if it doesn't come up that often, it's not going to be on the top of their to-do list. You know, like it hasn't rained blood in 100 years. It's like, yeah, we'll just do that later. Because they can't really test it when there's no blood rain out anyway. So what are they going to do?
There were earlier attempts by Greco-Roman philosophers to explain it, though. But the thing is, their grasp on the natural science really wasn't great. I mean, most of their theories were like, they were, of course, studying the case in the Iliad. And they're like, well, we can explain why. We know what happened here. Well, Achilles killed so many men that there was just blood everywhere, and there wasn't enough water. So when the sky tried to draw water into the sky to make rain, the sky could only find blood. So it just sucked blood up, and that's why it rained blood.
That's incredible.
Like that was seriously their response. Like it's a good start. It's a good try for what
I guess blood evaporated.
And people wonder why science has such an uphill battle for debunking the paranormal. Like when this is just some of their best guesses for so long.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. But the Sahara dust theory is a prevailing theory that like I can't remember if it's that it's just that it's colored red or if it actually has like iron oxide in it and that's what causes it to turn red.
I think the one I read, I think simply stated red pigmentation in the dust. So I would assume, that probably means iron.
So that it's picking up this
dust. Red clouds over places recently. Well, not recently, but in the last couple of years, we've just had like the whole sky turns red. Like not just like from a sunset or whatever, but like a big cloud. I think it happened in maybe Australia, maybe somewhere. I can't remember where it was, but that was a similar thing. It was just desert dust from the Sahara. That was causing quite a look sort of red.
That'd be neat to see. Have you ever seen a green sky?
No, can't say I
wasn't sure because I don't think you get tornadoes in England. I might be wrong.
Oh, we don't.
Okay.
We went over this at the beginning. No.
Sorry. But sometimes right before a tornado comes over your area, the whole sky will turn like this dark, foreboding green and black.
Yes, it will.
Oh, it's. I remember being a little kid seeing it for the first time. It's scary as hell.
Yeah, because we're all looking at it from the front. Even though everybody don't know what it is, we're all just gonna be staring at it from the front porch.
Yeah. They gotta get you used to this when you're young because it happens all the freaking time.
You gotta get used to this.
I'm surprised it's not used in horror more, to be honest. A green sky, I could see that. It's always like the sky turned red or the sky turned black. It's never green.
They should use it more. It's scary as hell.
I'm just gonna disagree. Mostly because of the weather in the Midwest of the United States is so erratic. I don't know if it really would scare us. Like I think most of the people like honestly went to see the movie Twister back when we were kids. And most people from India was like, this is like a Tuesday. Why are you making a movie out of this?
Yeah, but Marcus, they make movies for people outside the Midwest too.
That's true.
Just because we live in the Midwest doesn't mean everyone's trying to make movies for us.
That's true. Like we had literally last week, we had a foot of snow. We were buried under a foot of snow, and now a week later, it is spring.
Oh yeah, no, like I couldn't leave my house for several days because it was so buried. And today I'm just walking around outside in a t-shirt. Just, whatever.
Because we made the appropriate sacrifices to the appropriate gods.
Well, how do you guys deal with snow? Because we get it at least once a year in England, but the whole country seems to shut down when we do get it. Everyone panics. Nobody can drive anymore. All the trains stop immediately. Like it's just like end of days, and then it melts within a day, and we're fine again. But the whole country just shuts down. Like it's the first snow they've ever seen. It's not.
Bosses in the U.S. are still like, "You're gonna come to work? Like, you're still gonna be here, right?"
So, question: did you find any accounts of blood rains in North or South America?
No.
Yeah, me neither. which I thought was a little curious because we have large, dusty, red, deserty areas here as well that also are congruent with powerful winds.
Huh.
But I think there's a good chance that some blood rains could be caused by dust. I'm pretty much positive not all of them are, but I think at least some of them are.
I'm still liking the God is mad at you theory.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You gotta run with that. That's plan B. That's theory
If you're
B.
mad at you, you're building a dang fine castle.
There's actually one of the scientific theories, and I think we're going to get into this a bit later, that I actually think holds a pretty darn good answer.
Okay.
Yes, of course, it's the alien meteor theory. Tell them about the alien meteors.
The alien meteor
the
theory.
alien meteors that are turning the sky.
Okay. So this theory, did you not know about this theory, Tom?
It can't sound familiar, no.
Okay. So about 2001, there's this huge blood rain that goes down in Kerala, India. And this is kind of when this whole theory really just kicks off. So Kerala, India, 2001, it rains for 2 straight months, blood rain.
Okay.
And they ruled out the dust theory that we had talked about before. And scientists were starting to test it. And they were finding that there was living cells in the rain in the blood rain that was falling from the sky.
Huh.
Now, initial studies of it that people were having of this found that there was no like DNA in this blood, but it was like living organic tissue.
Okay.
So the early studies that were done by these 2 physicists, and their theory was that what this was something called a panspermia. Panspermia. That is a long word, man.
I just know because I actually really like the theory of panspermia.
Okay, that it's panspermia, which is essentially space DNA, like space life, like microscopic life. And essentially the theory is that an asteroid had burst over Kerala, India, and the DNA essentially, or the cells, like mixed in with the storm clouds, and then that's what caused it to rain.
Well, panspermia has been growing as a belief in the scientific community for where life originally came from on Earth.
Okay.
Because I'm sure all of us have studied the theory of evolution and where did life come from, and the general answer is maybe lightning hit chemicals and it formed into the early life forms, which most of the science is like, yeah, this is a really kind of out there answer that most of us think is probably not the case. But one of the theories that's gaining ground is that an asteroid with some form of microbe still living within the asteroid that was protected from the heat of re-entry. After the asteroid hit, some of these microbes survived and then just did what microbes do, which is, start reproducing like crazy. And eventually that's where the source life on Earth may have came from.
And right before it started raining on this blood rain, there was a loud boom that was heard over the city of Kerala, India. And that's why it made a lot of people think that it may have been an asteroid that exploded up in space.
And I can see where the scientists are going with, if it's organic material but lacks DNA, I can see how they could possibly conclude, well, maybe then it is alien organic tissue.
My favorite, I would say my favorite. The scariest thing about this is blood rains since 2001, since this theory has started, this has been a thing where they've been talking about this asteroid. So this scientist that was studying the 2012 one in Sri Lanka was just like, yeah, I'm really concerned about this DNA because if it starts multiplying and joining or mixing with DNA here on Earth, it could cause a global pandemic that'll wipe out all of humanity. Anyway, now moving on. He just says that point blank, and then he just hard transition. Now we're going to talk about something else now.
Now that one I don't 100% get why he comes to the conclusion of this cannot wipe out all of humanity. I mean, if he's assuming it could be spread as a virus, the likelihood of a virus surviving in a biological entity that virus has never been exposed to before seems very unlikely. One of my professors was once talking about the idea of aliens coming from space and trying to breed with humans. And the way he put it was, it's more likely that a extraterrestrial would be, or it's more likely that we'd be able to successfully breed with a rose than an alien entity successfully breeding with a human. Because at least the rose and us came from the same planet and have the same biological lineage.
Yeah, no, that tracks. That would make sense.
Now, all right. Now, I'm not.
And he wasn't considering that it's just horny aliens.
Okay. Now, I'm not a scientist, but I have seen War of the Worlds. And I will, although I'm really probably not afraid of some alien coming and stealing my man seed.
I am.
Hang on. I am kind of worried. I am worried about space flu, like, because like in that particular movie, we were saved by, a virus that killed the aliens. I am kind of worried about when they show up and, the space flu killing everybody.
I guess it's not impossible. Like, especially if you assume that like these entities have been here for long enough for our germs to acclimate to them and vice versa. But I would say it's unlikely that a alien germ would likely know what to do with a human cell unless the cell happens to be very similar to an alien cell. Now, an alien parasite might be able to do better, assuming it's used to working with the same sort of organic matter, or maybe even an alien fungi, or maybe something that's absolutely unlike some sort of microbe that we just don't even have on Earth. Like maybe something like that might be able to do better, but I don't know. The idea of us catching the alien flu and then us all dying, I see as being a little far-fetched, maybe.
I'd say it's not impossible, but it is a bit of a long shot.
Yeah. That's the camp I'm in, too.
So, Tom, definitely, if you take anything away from this conversation today, it's that you should always wear a mask to protect yourself from space flu, and always wear a condom to protect yourself from, like, space STDs.
Yep.
Well,
gird your loins, Tom. They're coming for you.
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. Oh, that's.
Where did I put my beer? There it is.
So true. That's so true. Okay, so as you can see, as you can probably guess, man, like this was a very popular theory that just took off. Because it sounds kind of cool, right? Like a massive rock up in space blew up, and now there's space DNA raining on everybody.
Mm.
But then what happened was, well, scientists went, okay, we can't have a massive panic and do this, so we're gonna have to come up with another theory real quick. And that's when the algae theory pops up.
I don't know. Okay, let's get ready to fight on this one. I think the algae theory holds some weight. That basically, algae that's producing in spores this green algae, it gets swept up, it proliferates, and when it drops down, it has this red stain to it. Because if you look at the algae cells, they have a strong red stain to it. And they were able to source a certain amount of DNA to it. Now, if I was going to play devil's advocate, and I'm just trying to cut off your argument before you get to say it, because I think this is where we're going. And I will give it to you that there is a good devil's advocate argument here. If you're looking for an excuse that'll make sense on a scientific paper, cite something that's of the right color that would probably already be in the rain. Because odds are, yes, these algae spores would be in the rain, even if it wasn't in a high enough amount to make the rain look like blood. So yeah, it would be an easy backdoor out of the argument. That'd be very hard to disprove.
All I'm saying is they came up with this like algae theory really fast after space life pops up.
So you're thinking that they just threw a scapegoat?
Okay, so like 4,000 years go by, and we're pretty comfortable with the whole concept of maybe it's God's mad at us, witches, fate, dust, maybe aliens. Castle building.
Yep.
Aliens. And then literally within like a week's period, like a few weeks period, they're like, okay, no, we got to change this. Now all of a sudden we're gonna discover space algae, or sorry, just regular algae that lives in the sky.
Like, oh, and it doesn't normally live in the sky. That's just where it disperses its spores.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Like,
Yeah. Mhm.
like Tom's on my side. He's like, "Hey, this is super convenient that these scientists all of a sudden
They
discovered
just
this.
live in the sky.
Yeah.
well, what I would say is, although I think the algae theory holds water,
Mhm.
I could also see a situation where someone said something about alien spores, and they're like, "You better find the real answer, and you find it right now, or your career is freaking over. Your butt is going to be my new paperweight." And then them going, "Okay, just find something that is in the water that's red that we can just say it's this. It's definitely
Like,
this."
What can we make a scapegoat? It's algae that's up in the atmosphere. Like, we gotta come up with something because everybody's panicking and going with the theory that it's space. It's like space bacteria.
I mean, I could see this actually happening in a conference room. I could see this, but also, it's well, one of the hard things about, and this is true about most anything in the paranormal, and I'm going to at least classify this in the near paranormal area as it's something that's extremely strange. It's hard to do a scientific test when it comes to ghosts because part of scientific testing is repeating circumstances, and bizarre activity, whether natural or otherwise, are activities you really can't get to perform on a moment's notice.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
theoretically, someone could go out and either prove or disprove this theory, but it's hard to know when the next time it's going to blood rain.
But ancient Romans did discover that if you sacrifice enough people, it will get it to stop.
If you
That's
do,
been tried to test it. That's been tried to test in the past, according to the ancient Romans. That if you do this enough, it'll just stop.
if you do, okay, if
Well,
it
then we
has
got to
do with the
sacrifice a
rain-
bunch more people for science.
Yeah, that's right,
And
you
we'll
know.
know once and for all.
Or medieval Europe just discovered if you burn enough witches, apparently the blood rain will stop. Go figure.
I mean, if it's rain, if you do anything for long enough, the rain will stop. Because you know it has never happened? It start raining and never stop. That has never once happened. It
That's
always
fair.
will eventually stop raining.
I can't argue with it.
Likely, regardless of how many witches you burn or how many slaves you sacrifice, it's probably eventually just going to stop.
Yeah.
I hate you today, Marcus.
I'm
Today's going to be the day I snap.
I'm just saying.
That's a real good point.
Beer, lungs.
Oh, no. Or was it
Oh.
blood beer?
I'd try
Or
it.
was there
I
space
would.
fungus in the beer?
Space.
I would be interested, but would probably make that a hard pass. Okay. I think we're coming up on it. Let's. What are your guys' conclusive thoughts on here?
Tom, what are your thoughts on what theory do you believe? Like,
I think it's somewhere between the dust and the space fungus, not space fungus, the algae, aerial spore thing. Because I reckon it could be caused by a bunch of things. Like, red is just red. We don't know how red it is. You're not comparing one blood rain to another. So one time
true.
it could have been sand, one time it could have been something else. You know, because they're so rare to test it, you can't really compare one to the other. It kind of falls apart. I don't think it's because God's mad at us. I'll sit in that corner. Or if I'm ever building a castle and it starts raining blood, I'll know what to do.
Actually, one of the things we never talked about is blood rain and Revelations.
oh, that's true. That's for that it's in Revelations, or that it's just going to predict something.
No, like there's a account that seems to be describing blood rain in Revelations.
Well, yeah, because they saw it in the ancient world. They're like, yeah, it's probably going to happen again.
Yeah. I would say it's either okay. Where I'm at is that it's probably one of two things. It's either they made a hasty choice and then quickly realized that they were incorrect, and it is these algae spores, or they discovered something that they definitely did not want to be made public. They found something bad, and they're like, okay, what's the easiest thing that we can prove is in there that could explain it, so we have an answer to throw at curious minds in the scientific community and just make it just a wash. And because this, although yes, it makes sense, but it also would be a very easy culprit to blame. I'm a little more on the side of it is just algae, but
I mean, it is a little hard to prove too.
yeah,
Like you got to
that's the
test
thing
that
is
theory for yourself. Like
you couldn't
you've
really
got to believe.
establish it very well, even to the where another scientist could test it, let alone the common individual.
Yeah, like
And odds are they're going to get that algae in there because algae spores do get in rain. We know that. If you test like even regular rain, you're probably going to find these spores.
like I need, like for me, at the end of the day, I am still like hung up on this whole like meteor theory that these physicists early in 2001 came up with, because the one thing that I noticed was, again, like right after they came up with this meteor theory that it might have been like life organisms from space, and then like quickly the scientific community is like, no, we can't say that, like we got to come up with something, like botanists go.
Did they ever account
like,
for the loud bang? Did they ever figure out what
no,
that
they
was?
They didn't.
And
Nor
that was widely reported, or was that just a small community who heard that or something?
It was at least reported around. That was not as widely reported as the lights in the Sri Lanka incident in 2012, where several people reported seeing strange lights in the sky the week prior to. No, actually, I think it was the day prior to. It was either the day or like between 1 to 7 days prior to it raining blood for like 2 weeks, like 2 months, like 2 months straight.
Wait, why didn't you tell us about this earlier? This is super fascinating.
Because you went off on your long, random thing against the space flu. Like, that was your...
Oh, yeah, he's talking about space flu, so I should probably not even bring up these UFOs.
No, yeah, like, people reporting these strange lights. And the two physicists in 2001 that proposed this meteor theory never let up. They never did. They kept for years afterwards. Like, I could throw the science, but again, guys, it confused me. It's probably going to confuse the layperson. They never let it go.
We definitely have more to talk about on this. Do you want to push the rest of this conversation into the pillow talk?
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Okay. So the first thing that I want to do is, Tom, I want to thank you so much for coming on to talk. Yeah, you were fantastic. We really appreciate you coming on, man. It was a lot of fun. We're gonna make sure that YouTube is the main platform that you're on, right?
Absolutely.
We're gonna make sure that the link to your channel is in the show notes below, so that you guys can go check out Tom's work, because it's fantastic.
Please come stop on by.
Yeah, absolutely. Check out his fantastic work. Thank you so much for coming on, man. We really appreciate it.
Guys, I can't 100% prove this to you right now because the forces that be are monitoring me, but something terrible is going to happen if you don't go check out his channel. By going and checking out his channel, you yourself are going to be averting disaster, perhaps saving not only yourselves, but all of us.
Yeah, we're saying here, there could be a blood rain if you do not go.
It could happen.
Save a witch. Go watch his channel. Save a witch. Okay, do the right thing. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below about blood rains. Do you guys subscribe to the meteor theory, to the algae theory, to the dust, something else?
Or just some good old castle building.
Yeah. Do you guys also agree it's good for castle building? Like, I think people in Animal Crossing probably would love it. Probably.
we got a lot more legs out of this random account involving Richard Lionheart than I really thought they were going to.
But let us know in the comments below what you guys think. As always, if you guys appreciate this channel, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a positive review wherever you guys are listening to it. But until next time, guys, keep believing.
Because we'll keep listening.
All right, guys, we're going to slide into our Pillow Talk segment of the podcast. If you guys want to check out the rest of our podcast, all you got to do is go over to our Patreon and sign up for as little as $1 a month. You guys can get all the rest of our podcasts, as well as being able to get access to all of the extra videos that we post up on our Patreon for all of our patrons.
Oh, how's the vote going for next month's topic? Is it still tied?
Yes. If you guys are $2 a month or more, you guys can vote on our monthly poll for you guys to have an input onto what the theme of our topic is going to be for the month. Leading up to the next month, it is still a tie between alien abduction, mutilations, and time and space anomalies.
Come on, guys. I'm pulling for alien abduction and mutilation.
Time and space anomalies. That's what I would vote for, just to be contrary. So if you guys go on and go on there, and that's how you guys can sign up for to get some extra amazing content.
It's a good deal.
Before we get going, I want to throw out something that someone said in this morning's. I go to a seniors aquafit class.
He's not very good at exercise, guys. He's got to start at the beginning.
So you look good for your age.
He does. And you say I got a bump ticker, and you you tell everybody that, and you're the one in a senior workout class.
Have I explained to our listeners why I'm in a seniors workout class?
I don't think you have explained. And I see the face on Tom's face right now while he's pondering it too.
Okay. I decided to join a gym, and like I go there. There's a pool. I'm there doing laps, and then this lady walks up, taking down like the lanes that for laps, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you got to get out because we're starting a aquafit class, but you're welcome to join if you want." And I'm like, "Well, I don't want to get out of the water, so sure." Keep in mind, I have my glasses off because I'm swimming, and I can tell that there's people around me moving, but I can't really tell who they are and stuff. So it's halfway through this hour-long like aqua fitness class that I realize everyone else in the class is old. But the thing is, like, I made friends with like this dude there, Steven, and so I like hanging out with Steven. So I go to the regular aquafit class, but I also stick around for the seniors one because I like hanging out with the dude. He's a cool guy.
That's surprisingly wholesome.
Yeah, and that's why I go to seniors fitness because.
Although when I tell everybody else's story, I always leave out the part where Vic is in a regular water aerobics class. I just tell the senior water aerobics story.
It is a better story.
But yeah, I was talking with him about like our topic for the day, and he's like, "Well, I've got an idea. It's probably dust." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I've explored the dust bus." So he's like, "No, it's not that. It's just dust. It's red because it's from the aliens. Because they're from Mars, where the dust is red."
We'd not even considered
like,
Mars.
Maybe you're on to something, Steve. Maybe you're on to something.
Dude, Mars is infested with robots right now. We gotta get humans there because right now robots have taken over Mars.
I don't know much about Mars. I have heard that Mars needs moms. I don't know what they need them for, but I'm worried.
Robots.
Okay. Now to the serious stuff. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Back to the regularly scheduled part of the broadcast. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the meteor theory, because the two scientists, I looked this up during the break, because you guys know we're terrible. So the two physicists are named Godfrey Lewis